We have already discussed the basics of Matt Groening's style with his Simpsons characters, but let's go back to this example and explore it in a little bit more depth. This will give you an idea of how you can explore other artist styles as well. Some cartoons, like The Simpsons, are very well known, which means you might be able to think of some of their traits without even having to do any research. The most obvious when it comes to The Simpsons is the iconic yellow skin frequently used, but this isn't the only trait that creates this signature style. Here are 3 other iconic yellow characters. Although they share the Simpsons yellow color scheme, they are definitely not Simpsons characters. This is because they do not share any of the other elements or principles that make up the signature Simpsons look. Alternatively, here are 3 lesser-known Simpsons characters. Although they are not the stars, you automatically know they are part of the show. This is because they share the same big white circular eyes. They also have similar small noses. They sort of look like a sideways capital U. And finally, a very important feature is the exaggerated upper lip and the small lower lip. Sometimes the Simpsons characters do divert from this basic formula, but they will usually include at least one of those previously mentioned signature traits. In this image of a Simpsonized Tom Hanks, the character's eyes are not big and round, and his nose, while still very simple, is not a sideways U. His upper lip is larger than his lower one, but it's much more subtle than the previous examples that we looked at. In this case, the overwhelming trait that really makes this a Simpsons character is that yellow skin. Next we have Apu, the convenience store owner. In this case, the skin tone is not yellow and his nose is a little bit different. But look at those big, round, white eyes and that exaggerated upper lip. Let's take a look at one more Simpsons character. Santa's little helper. Even the family's beloved dog shares the eye and mouth traits. This gives even the animals in the show a Simpsonized look. As you can see, the Simpsons characters are based on a few fundamental elements of design. However, the principle of variety allows for each character to look unique. With just a little practice, you'll be able to use basic shapes, angles, and proportions to create a fairly generic Simpsons face. Here is a fundamental Simpsons character template. Now, by adding just a few lines and shapes, you can generate a basic familiarity of many of the Simpsons characters. Not yet convinced? Alternatively, you can use the template to generate unique new characters who still give off that Simpsons vibe. This technique is very common in cartooning. For example, although the Disney princesses share overall different looks, they also have very similar shapes to make up the face. They all have big almond eyes with a colored iris and a shining glint to make them look a little bit more realistic. Disney princesses always have very feminine pink lips, often with a cupid's bow. And of course, bright pearly whites. However, did you notice that they don't have much or any definition in their teeth? Instead, it's just a big white space. Maybe these princesses should see a dentist. You'll also notice that they all have similar face shapes and eyebrows. When it comes to their noses, they are quite dainty. Even those with slightly larger noses have still been drawn very delicately. You still don't believe me? Check out this very simple swap between features of Cinderella, Snow White, and Belle. Just like the Simpsons characters, the Disney princesses are made up of very fundamental shapes. Using the basic template, you can come up with a variety of characters that give off a Princess Disney vibe, from the traditional to the uber contemporary. By analyzing the principles and elements used by a famous cartoonist, we can easily replicate the overall style of the cartoon. Take some time to study some of your own favorite cartoons. Notice the shapes, Notice the colors. Notice the similarities between different characters. All of these will be clues as to the cartoonist's individual style. Now head on over to part 2 and 3, where you will learn to identify your unique characteristics and how to merge them with these cartoon styles to create a whole bunch of cartoon self-portraits.